My name is Jacob Ankarsvärd, and I'm here to give a talk about Stockholm art through the centuries, the Stockholm art story. And I thought I would be a good person to do this because my family has lived in Stockholm since around 1640, around that. So some of my ancestors have made an impact on the art and architecture, which I quite enjoy to share. Here is one of my favorite paintings of Stockholm made by Eugen Jansson. And well, I think Stockholm is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And sometimes when you are going home from a party or an opening, and you just get stricken by the beauty of the place. So this is one of those spots you can see Stockholm. And when I went to art school, this was the local hangout for all my peers. And you never know where the youngsters go these days. But this is a restaurant and a pub called Carmen, which is very close to Studio 44, where I'm currently a member. But let's go back to when Sweden was more primitive. So this is some of the first known paintings of Sweden, Hällristningar, stone carvings, and that's about 10,000 years ago. But if we move into one of the more famous paintings of Stockholm, this would be it. And it's about a sort of weather phenomena where there were three halos in the sky of Stockholm. Väderstolstavlan. And as you can see, Stockholm was quite much smaller then, and you can see the islands. Nowadays, when you walk around Stockholm, you don't even think about that you're leaving one island, going to another island, and so on. But one of the islands we find National Museum, and here is again an older version of how we used to celebrate Christmas. And I really love this painting because it has a narrative. It's made by Carl Larsson, one of our more famous painters, and you can see the wailers and the mourners on the left. You can see the soldiers on the right, and in the middle you can see something really bad is about to happen. I pointed out to you the naked man, who is actually a king, is supposed to be sacrificed, and you can see the dagger here, and the red cloak is obviously, well, that's what's going to happen. The blood is going to go. So you can find this enormous painting in this building, National Museum, which I highly recommend you to go to. Now, if we go back to the older works of art in Sweden, the oldest literature we have is this Viking runestone called Rökstenen, or the smoke stone. So that's from the Vikings age. And you can find some runestones in this place, Skansen, which is an outdoor museum on Djurgården, which I really recommend you to see as well. Skansen has buildings from all over Sweden gathered in this park. So in parts you can feel like you're in a village, in a small town, and it's all in this park, which has the shape of the founder Hazelius. So you can see the nose and his face and his head, and all over there is also Nordic animals, and there's also one art gallery right there, a studio, this one I think. The oldest building in Stockholm is this Birger Jarl's tower, and it's placed right in the old town, but on the place called Riddarholmen. So there it is, and if you go to Gamla Stan, which you will eventually, you'll find that there are so many alleys and quaint places and cafes to see. So I mean, I'm sure you will. And one of the interesting hangouts is the Golden Piece, Gyllene Freden. It's like Café de la Paix in Paris. And it was one of the Swedish, more famous Swedish artists, one of the most famous artists internationally, called Anders Zorn, who bought the place and kept it for posterity. So we have him to thank for that restaurant still being there. And he's famous because he went to America and painted American presidents and other prominent people. Now, going back to Stockholm, it's all made of islands, obviously, and so this is the Södermalm, South Island, Gamla stan, smack in the middle, and this is the prison island, where there used to be a prison, and then it to turn into hostels and hotels. This is Djurgården, where you'll find several of the good museums, and this is Östermalm and Kungsholmen, so different parts of the city, which is all woven together. Now, going back to the older art history, this is a painting of a Swedish queen or king. She was the daughter of Gustav II Adolf, and you know the king who made the famous ship Vasa, and it's for the reason of molding cannons and cannonballs that my family came from France to Sweden. So, but she was one of the more successful monarchs we've had. So when her father, the king, died in the 30th war in Europe, she was still a young child, but she was part of of a movement in Sweden which was monumental. So she was part of the winning side in the 30 years war, and so most of the treasures we have, she got from Europe to Stockholm. And she was also best friends with the Cart, and when she was going to be coronated, there was no, you couldn't be a queen, but she was the best out there. She had imbeciles for cousins, and the uncles were war hawks, and so she was the only good alternative, and she was super bright. So but since the law said you had to be king, she was coronated as king, actually, and she demanded to have her father's crown, and she also demanded to be coronated in Stockholm, not in Uppsala. But at the same time, this palace was being built, and it's one of the more famous palaces in Sweden, Drottningholm, which I highly recommend. If you think it looks a little bit like Versailles, that's because that was the plan. So the king in France and Sweden were good friends, and they basically copied Versailles and made a smaller version, but it's a Baroque palace. But Christina, she lived in this palace, which is 3 kronor, 3 crowns, but unfortunately it burnt down, and we had to make a more efficient looking building. So there it is. Just next to the castle, you'll find Konstakademien, the Arts Academy, and which is more of a museum and galleries now. But the art school itself is on Skeppsholmen, a different island. So if you go there, there is usually exhibitions by the students, and it's next door to Museum of Modern Art. But fun fact that it's said that when you start the art academy, you're proud as a lion, but you leave like a pig. So that's the story. And next door to the art school is Moderna Museet, the Museum of Modern Art, and here you can find Tang Li and Nikita Sanfal's sculptures. You'll find Hilma af Klint paintings, and you'll find one of the silliest paintings made by Salvador Dali with this enormous butt cheek, with a butt cheek rest. Another good museum on Djurgården, not too far away, is Tilska, and I like Tilska a lot. I've actually been there in a kind of residency, so I stood there and had some almost a performance-like sessions where I painted every room in the museum, and I recommend it because it also has a great collection of Edvard Munch's paintings, and you'll find that in the left corner there you'll find the prequel to The Scream, which I think is called The Despair. This museum was founded by a banker called Tilska, and he was best friends and pen pals with Nietzsche. So when Nietzsche died, obviously his sister sent the death mask to his pal in Sweden. So you'll find this is what Nietzsche looked like when he died. And my next door neighbor painted this painting in the tower of the museum. So I'm quite fond of that. And in this painting, you can find the side of the face of the banker himself. In the middle of Stockholm, you'll find Konstnärshuset, the artist's house, which is one of the more the oldest artist-run galleries. It's 4 floors of galleries, and I think they'll also be participating in supermarket. In the base, that you'll find KB, which is a really nice restaurant, and on the right you'll find the bar. So it used to be a terrible restaurant, and now it's a very fancy restaurant. That's the way it goes with gentrification, isn't it? And next door on the other side, you'll find a super interesting museum called Hallwylska. Hallwylska was a modern palace at the time, but it has it reminds me a bit about if you've seen the Harry Potter movies, you'll find that there are plenty of armory and weapons and ghost stories. So there we have it. Stockholm is sort of linked to the archipelagos. So you'll find beautiful islands just really close by. So you could probably take a ferry and see one of these lovely islands just in 20 minutes, and it just continues and continues. And most Swedes have a house like this on an island. Not really, but we dream. And if we go closer to the city, here is a really interesting island. If you like shipping, it's called Beckholmen. And Beckholmen has dry docks, so the ships sail in and they get restored. I told you about the prison island, and this is the place that was turned into hostels and hotels. And it was actually, the architect was Theodor Ankarsvärd, which is my great-grandfather, and so I have a certain connection to that. And his uncle did the synagogue. He was the architect of the synagogue in Stockholm. And a funny fact that next door to the synagogue is the Catholic Church. So if you need to go to a service, you can just pop by the synagogue and then go to the Catholic Church. The architect for the Catholic Church, he was a bit of a nuisance. I did the paintings in the Catholic Church, and he was really upset with me because of that, because he wanted his church to be pure. And I said Catholic churches are rarely pure. Lots of paintings and there are saints all over. This is Skärgårds, the same architect. He made the main square, and on the left you'll find the House of Culture, which holds exhibitions all the time. Down the street from there you'll find another relative of mine was the architect of this, and top flight you'll find a really lovely restaurant. Yeah, so that was my uncle Bob, who was the architect for it's a shopping center. Now, being in Stockholm, I think you need to also take an interest to the foods, and let's start with this funny combination. So you need hot dogs and shrimp, salad sauce, and mashed potatoes, and you wrap it up in bread from the far north, the Sami's bread, the tunnbröd, tunnbrödsrulle. And I started with showing you the restaurant Carmen, where I used to hang out when I was an art student. But now I would recommend this place, Kvarnen. It's very close to Studio 44, and another beer hall next, just in the vicinity, is Pelikan, which is a lovely place to go for a beer or food after the openings of Supermarket or Studio 44. And moving on to the sweeter stuff that we can offer in Stockholm, there are plenty of good cafes. And if you haven't heard about fika yet, fika means having coffee, sitting down, relaxing, and having something sweet like this. And obviously the Massarins, which is my favorite. And there's all kinds of buns and shortbread and cookies. And then, well, you can also see the relationships that Sweden has with different cultures and countries, like the Napoleon cake, which I think is only you can't find in France, and the Mazarin is obviously related to the Cardinal Mazarin in France as well. So if you find a place that looks like this, that would be a good coffee house. You'll find that. And sitting down, having coffee is very, very Swedish. And this is also one of my favorite drinks. It's called sugar drink. And I think that's what it is. You drink sugar. And you know, it's I don't think there's much more flavor than sugar. So try it out. And then we have the good pickled fish, the pickled herring, which is a must. Not the smelly kind, which I don't think you can find except in late August, but the pickled herring, and maybe the gubbröra, which I would presume translates geezer goo, maybe. So it's fish and onions, and it will be served in a place like this, like Zoom Franciscaner. Now the galleries in Stockholm have shifted places geographically all the time, and you'll find many in Vanadisplan, and but I would also recommend Supermarket, obviously. But Supermarket has also moved from different places. The first Supermarket was in Konstnärshuset, the artist house, and then it moved on to Kulturhuset, and it's been in hotels as well. So I think Supermarket is something that Swedish artists are really proud of, and it's part of the non-commercial scene. So that's why it has this do-it-yourself kind of quality to it, and it has promoted so many good collaborations and exchanges all over the world. Studio 44 is on Södermalm on the South Island. And this, if you see this entrance, this is where you should go. And we'll be having openings coming on Thursday, and we'll have the Supermarket party on is it Friday or is that Saturday?
Saturday.
Saturday, obviously. Yes. So and you could possibly find some Los Angeles artists there as well, then on Thursday and presumably on Saturday. This is Candyland, which Andreas runs on Södermalm, or he's on the committee. And I'd like to finish off with some going back to the royalties, since it's the coronation day. This is the outfit of Gustav III, the culture king of Sweden, who founded the institutions such as the academies and the opera and the theater, and that's you'll see the sculpture of him next to the castle. And a fun fact about him, that he was killed, assassinated during a masquerade, and not by any of my ancestors. That was the Ankarström. I am Ankarsvärd. Totally different family lines. Yeah. And the first museum, public museum, art museum in the world, I think, was founded by him. And a bit dull, but there it was, mainly Greek busts and sculptures. Today's king has, I think, no interest in culture whatsoever. That's King Carl, and that's his daughter. I hope she has a stronger interest in culture. If you go to the opera or the dramatic theater, you'll find that there's an empty box. That's the royal box, because they're never ever there. So, but it's in the institution's rule book that you have to have a place for the king in case he'll come. He'll never come. Most kings have a collection. I think our king has someone who advises him. I know he has one of Björn Westman's paintings, but otherwise than that, his great uncle Eugen, he was a good painter, and he was a great collector. And if you go to his palace on Djurgården, close to Tilska, the other palace, you'll find paintings by him and by other painters from the turn of the last century. So, plenty of good art museums. I would recommend Bonnier's and Harry's and Liljevalchs. Possibly not recommend the ABBA Museum unless you have certain faiblesse for that kind of scene. And that's I think Stockholm is also famous for producing lots of music. There you'll find Britney Spears writing Hit Me One More Time, possibly. But my favorite museum in Stockholm is Millesgården. It's like you're in Italy or by the Mediterranean, and Milles was one of the more famous sculptures we've had in Sweden, and I really enjoy going there, and I recommend it to you. And he is also found in Chicago, actually. So this is the Museum of Art in Chicago, same sculpture. So he did quite well. In the middle of Stockholm, you'll right now find that there's construction going on, as it was 100 years ago. So this is famous painter Sigrid Hjertén and her husband Isak Grünewald, who painted Slussen. And I think it's going to be a bit more like this in a few years. So that's how I'll stop this presentation. Thank you very much for your kind attention.